Hello friends, this is Himanshu Jain from the Wall Street School. A few months back, we had uploaded a video on some of the most prominently asked questions in an investment banking interview. Post the upload, hundreds of students reached out to us asking us to make more videos with more questions on the same. So in this video, we're going to cover some of the most prominently asked questions in an investment banking interview which we have not covered in the first video. So you may consider this as part 2 of the same series. I sincerely hope that this video will help all the finance enthusiasts and all those who are seeking a finance career be more and better prepared for a finance interview. Let's get started.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope all of you are fit, fine and safe and are doing amazingly well. We have uploaded more than 12 hours of content on YouTube related to investment banking. But one thing that keeps popping in front of us is interview preparations. Many candidates have requested for part 2 of investment banking interview questions. So earlier we covered the questions related to valuations. In general, you can expect 4 types of questions to be asked in an interview or in an investment banking interview. It could be technical questions like on accounting, on financial modeling and on valuations. It could be analytical questions, it could be situational questions, or it could be some personal questions, right? In the last video of this series, we have covered valuations related basic questions. In this part, we'll be covering financial modeling related questions that could be asked in an investment banking interview. So let us start. The first and the foremost question could be, what exactly is a financial model and why it is prepared? So your answer should be, financial model is a tool to make decisions. I'll just write it over here. Tool to make decisions. To make decisions, we need to project future, and financial models help us to project futures in a very structured way. That's it. This is financial model, right? And now the question arises why it is prepared. The reason for which financial models are prepared, it could be valuations, it could be viability case study, it could be mergers and acquisitions, it could be risk management, it could be capital allocation, it could be to raise funds. There are n number of uses. This is just an example. These could be the uses for which you can prepare financial model, right? Very easy to answer. This is just an starter to your interview. He will start testing you on the technical grounds now. Like he may ask, what is a logical flow for a preparation of financial model? Walk me through a 3-statement financial model. So the first statement that you prepare is revenue model. You prepare revenue sheet. From this revenue sheet, this revenue projection can help you to project cost. Therefore, the next statement generally that is prepared is profit and loss account. But this profit and loss account will not be a complete one because depreciation is still not there and interest expense is still not there. Depreciation will come from fixed asset schedule and interest will come from debt schedule. So next step, what you do is you prepare fixed asset schedule. Then next step is you prepare debt schedule. Then next step, you prepare balance sheet and the balance cash flow statement, right? And the cash flow statement will help you to calculate the closing cash balance that will go to the balance sheet. Okay. So this is a particular flow for preparation of financial model most of the times. And this is how you create 3-statement financial model, right? You have prepared profit and loss account, you have prepared balance sheet, you have prepared cash flow statement. From debt schedule, you'll get your interest amount. From fixed asset schedule, you'll get your depreciation amount. P&L account will be done, and the balance at the end of profit and loss account will flow to balance sheet in the form of reserves. Okay, this is a particular flow. Now, next question could be, what are the steps for preparation of a financial model? Earlier one was logical flow, how three statement financial model is prepared. Now the steps he's asking, be very cautious of what he's asking. So the first step is collection of historical data. Once you have historical data, like previous, you can refer previous profit and loss account, balance sheet, cash flows. Then you calculate ratios. Ratios could be gross profit margin, EBIT margins. You could calculate net profit margins, debtor days, creditor days, working capital. Why we are calculating all these ratios? Because on the basis of past, we can infer how the future may unfold. Okay. After collection of historical data, calculating ratios on this, we can start preparing profit and loss account, that is revenue and then cost. This will help us to ascertain the profitability of the company. If in case to complete profit and loss account, we need some like schedules, like debt schedule and fixed asset schedule. We'll complete that. So prepare profit and loss account and supporting schedules. Then make balance sheet and cash flow statement. And if in case any supporting schedule is required, like tax calculation and all, you can do that. So prepare balance sheet, cash flow, and if in case you need any supporting schedule, do calculate that, do prepare that. Then the next step is to interlink all these statements, to link profit and loss account with balance sheet and cash flow, and linking cash flow with balance sheet. So to interlink all the statements, interlink P&L, balance sheet and cash flows. Like cash balance will go to balance sheet, profit will be transferred to cash flow as like beginning of operating activities. Then if there is asset purchase or something is happening, then that will flow to cash flow statement. Interlinking, this will complete all the three statements. Then you like create a sensitivity around it, sensitivity. And the last step could be audit of the model. That is, you check whether you have made any mistakes or not, right? Because these models are very bulky sometimes. There is almost 100% certainty you will make some mistakes here and there. So like you will always prefer your senior to be auditing the model. And this is very, very, very important before sending the files to the client, right? So these are the broadly the steps you follow to prepare financial models. Okay. Then the next question from this could be, what are the sources from which you can get the historical data for financial model? So you can use annual reports. You can use quarterly reports. If you are doing it for US based company, annual reports are called as 10K. Quarterly reports are called as 10Q. You can also use 8K reports. 8K are nothing but kind of press release on earnings. You can use con calls. You can also use other equity research reports. You can also use management commentary, management guidelines. Right? This will help you to get historical data broadly. If in case, like you can, sometimes you can also use news articles to get some data points. Though 99% of the times, these data points will be available somewhere in these reports. But if in case it's not available or you're not able to get some like data, it's just a Google search away. Okay. Now the next question could be, what are the design principles of a good financial model? Because preparation of financial model is one challenge, and preparation of a one pleasant looking and logically flowing financial model is altogether a different challenge. So the first design principle is it should be flowing logically. So there should be logical flow. So what do we mean by logical flow? You cannot prepare balance sheet as your first sheet and your assumptions as your last sheet, right? It should be the assumption sheet and then balance sheet and other three statements should follow. Like your profit and loss account cannot fall below or before revenue sheet. Revenue sheet, then P&L account. So there should be some logical flow to the model. The second design principle is lesser and the simpler formulas you use, better it is for you to rectify it in future and for others to understand. So less use of complex formulas. Third design principle is standard formatting across all the sheets. You cannot use blue color in one sheet and red color in another sheet. Just make it standard. So standard formatting. So what are the rules for standard formatting? The first one, use of corporate colors. Don't use fluorescent colors like light yellow, bright orange. Use corporate pastel colors, right? So use of pastel colors. The second one, if you are hard coding a number, hard coded numbers, it should be in blue color. If you are linking anything, any number with the previous sheet or some other sheet, this linking should be in green color. Linking should be in green color. And then if there is a formula, it should be with black color. This is an industry practice followed across investment banks, right? So these are the three design principles that you should follow to make your model a very good and pleasant looking model and very easy for others to understand. Now, next question could be, what is sensitivity analysis and why do you need it in financial models? So what is sensitivity analysis? I've already explained this in detail in 15 minutes video. So you can refer this video, sensitivity analysis using Excel. Why do you need it in financial model is still to be answered. The answer is, see, when we are preparing a financial model, we are basically projecting future. And it is meant to go wrong. We cannot precisely project the future. Something or other thing will go wrong. So just to account for all the scenarios that may happen in future, cost of capital instead of 5% turns out to be 7%. Or cash flows instead of $1 million turns out to be $0.5 million. So we are going to run a sensitivity that is all the probable scenarios that may happen in future. If we put all the all the answers or all the outputs for these scenarios in one table, that is called a sensitivity table. Very easy to understand. Next question could be, impact of buying an asset on all three financial statements. Though practically this is accounting related questions, but if you keep on if this discussion on three statement financial models keeps on popping in this entire interview, the interviewer might ask you, sir, what is the impact on all these financial items if you buy an asset? That is, he is asking you, if you buy an asset, what is the impact on balance sheet, profit and loss account, and cash flow statement? Try to answer this before me. If in case you want, you can pause the video. So on balance sheet, towards the asset side, what will happen? If you're buying an asset, so your asset will increase and your cash will decrease with the same amount. Or if you are buying it on credit, so on the liability side, payables will increase because you have liability to pay. So balance sheet will in all tally. What will be the impact on P&L? Directly on the very first day, there won't be any impact. But towards the year end, when you are closing the books, you'll have to charge depreciation on this asset that you have purchased. And if you're going to charge this depreciation, what will happen? Your tax liability will also decrease because your expense is increasing. What will be the impact on cash flow? The major impact will be on investing activities. There will be outflow of cash, purchase of asset. And in operating activities, the revised net profit will go over here and the depreciation amount also will be increased. When you add back depreciation and other non-cash operating items in your profit after tax in your operating activities, depreciation will also increase and the profits will be revised. Okay. So this is the impact of buying an asset on all three financial statements. When he is asking you this question, he is making sure that whatever you are speaking, you actually understand all these things logically. You have not mugged it up and speaking it in front of him. Okay. So the next question could be, what are the key financial metrics or the ratios that you will incorporate while building financial model? What ratios you will calculate while building a financial model? There are many ratios that you calculate and it depends upon case to case basis. But for 90% of the models, you will calculate gross profit margin, you will calculate EBIT margins, you will calculate net profit margin, you will calculate dividend per share, earning per share, you will calculate tax rate, you will calculate growth rate. This growth rate will be of revenue, this growth rate will be of profit, it could be gross profit, net profit, EBIT. You will calculate some return related ratio, right? Return on capital employed, return on assets, return on equity. You will calculate some debtors and creditor days related ratio, like debtor days. You will calculate creditor days. You will calculate inventory days. You will calculate some ratios related to capital like debt equity. You will also calculate DSCR, debt service coverage ratio, interest coverage ratio most of the times. So these are the ratios that is required in every model. Other than this, there could be case specific ratios also. Like if you are doing valuations, you will calculate EV by EBIT, EV by EBITDA, EV by sales, all these ratios, PE ratios, right? Valuation multiples basically. But it really depends upon case to case basis. But these ratios are to be calculated in most of the models. Moving ahead, the next question from interviewer could be, what is circular reference? How do you deal with it? And where it is found in financial models most commonly? So let's answer it one by one. What is circular reference? When input is necessary to get output, and this output act as an input again. So like to get output, you need input. To get input, you need output. So it creates a loop, and this loop is called as circular reference. How do you deal with it? You enable iterative calculations in Excel. So you click on file, then you go to options, Excel options. Within Excel options, you will go to formula bar. And within formula bar, you will enable iterative calculations. Simple, right? Where it is most commonly found in financial model, when you prepare debt schedule. Then his follow-up question could be, what is debt schedule and how do you prepare debt schedule? So debt for a company, for a business, could be of two types. Long-term debt and a revolver credit. In India, we call it as CC limit, OD limit, cash credit. So if it is long-term debt, there won't be any like circular reference. You'll simply say opening balance of debt plus loan that you have taken minus the loan that you have repaid. This will give you closing balance. And on the average of opening and closing balance, or sometimes on the average on the opening balance itself, you calculate interest expense. Interest expense will be opening balance multiplied by rate of interest multiplied by time duration. Simple. But if it is a cash credit limit, then you will need, there will be circular reference. Sir, why there will be circular reference? Let us understand. See, when a company will take cash credit, when there is a shortage of funds. So you say cash credit will be required if cash balance is negative or falls below minimum required cash, right? And as soon as it falls below minimum required cash, you will replenish the shortfall by taking CC limit. This CC limit will impact your interest cost. If you've taken a loan, you need to pay more interest. This interest expense will go to P&L. And this profit after tax ultimately will flow to cash flow statement. And this cash flow statement ultimately is helping you to determine whether the cash balances have gone negative or not. So do you see a loop creating? This thing, if cash balance is negative or below minimum required cash balance, you need to take loan. For if you take a loan, there will be interest cost that will go to P&L, that will come to cash flow. And this balance was determined from cash flow. So a loop is there. So therefore you need you need to enable iterative calculation to solve for such situations. Okay. Now let us move ahead And let's talk about the next question, which is the most difficult part in a financial model to project and how do you do that? So the most difficult part and the most important part in any financial model to project is revenue. So first of all, you need to understand two things. The first one is revenue driver. What drives the revenue of the business that you are trying to prepare financial model for? Like for telecom companies, it could be ARPU. For say automobile companies, it could be number of units sold. So what derives the revenue? You should also understand the cyclicity and the secular run of the business, whether it's a cyclical business or non-cyclical business. So cyclicity as well as non-cyclicity. If it is cyclical business, then there will be burst of revenue for some duration, then it will come down. Then again, for some period, there will be very low revenues, then there will be burst of revenues. Okay. Then you can also take help of average growth rate. But to do that, you need to understand where the business is in its current business cycle, life cycle. You need to understand where it is in life cycle. If it is a young growth company, it will have a very fast growth pace. If it is a mature company, it will have a very stable growing revenues. This revenue growth of revenue will be approximately equals to the GDP of the country in which it majorly operates. If it is like a global company like PepsiCo, Coca-Cola that operates in entire world, then it will be very close to the global GDP, that is between 4 to 5% estimated over the long term, right? So you need to understand where the company is in current life, where the company is in its current life cycle. You can also use help of, like when you are projecting revenue, it should be as detailed as possible. So you can do it on the basis of segments. You can also do it on the basis of products. If you're doing it on the basis of products, you can even further divide it by like prices and volumes. How many units you will be selling going ahead in the future, and at what rate you will be selling going ahead in the future, right? And the volumes will be determined where you are in the current life cycle, right? And the prices is generally determined in which kind of market you're operating. If you're operating in monopolistic market, your margins, your prices will be much higher. But if you're operating in like perfect competition kind of market, then the price control is not in your hand, right? So this is how you project revenues. I've given you multiple ways. Case to case basis, you have to determine which one to use. Now the next question could be, how do you forecast the cost? So you can say, to forecast cost, that means you have to forecast what? Cost of goods sold, you have to forecast operating expenses, you have to forecast depreciation, you have to forecast interest, you have to forecast tax. These are broadly the costs that you are required to forecast. So cost can be expressed as a percentage of revenue. COGS can be expressed as a percentage of revenue, my bad. Operating expense can also be expressed as a percentage of revenue. See, many times, or like almost all the times, we don't have breakup of what is fixed cost and what is variable cost. If in case you know that, then fixed cost will not rise as the revenue rises and variable cost will rise. But for public companies, you don't know how much is fixed and how much is variable. They don't give this kind of disclosure. Depreciation projection will be done from fixed asset schedule. Interest projection will be done from debt schedule. And if you want to project interest income, you can calculate this as a percentage of investments and cash balance available. And tax rate, you can take historical tax rate. At what rate the company have been paying taxes. This is nothing but historical tax paid divided by profit before tax. This is called as effective tax rate. And slowly, see, effective tax rate means the company is paying taxes at much higher rates or lower rates than what is required to be paid. This is called as effective tax rate. You will move to marginal tax rate. Let's say the company have been paying taxes around 21% from last few years. Because of some deductions it is getting, some benefits it is getting. But the maximum or the marginal tax rate, the rate at which government asks a normal company to pay tax, is at 27%. So slowly and slowly, these reductions, these benefits will vaporize. The company will not be getting these benefits for like in its entire life, and it will move from effective tax rate to marginal tax rate from 21% to 27% slowly and slowly over our projection period. Okay. Now let's move towards the next question. This is how do you forecast working capital? See, working capital basically means current assets minus current liabilities. So the interviewer is basically asking you, how do you project current assets and current liabilities? That is, he's asking you, how do you project debtors, inventory, prepaid assets, or other current assets? How do you project this? And in current liabilities, how do you project payables or creditors? How do you project outstanding expenses? Okay, so it's very easy. Debtors are projected on the basis of debtor days. Inventory is projected on the basis of stock days. And other current assets, it's very difficult to get into these details one by one. So we generally project it as a percentage of revenue. And creditors are projected on the basis of creditor days. And outstanding expenses are projected as a percentage of operating expense. Okay. This is how you project working capital. Now, what is debtor days, stock days, creditor days? He can ask you. So I'll just give you example or formulas for all these. So debtor days means on an average in how many days the debtors are expected to pay you back. You have made a credit sales, therefore the debtors emerge. In how many days you expect the debtors to pay you back? So the formula will become debtors by sales into 365, or creditor days will become creditors by purchases. If in case the purchases figures is not explicitly available, you can use cost of goods sold also over here. Though this is not technically right, but many times these listed companies don't give purchases amount. So you can use cost of goods sold multiplied by 365. This will give you creditor days. Stock days is very simple. This is stock divided by COGS multiplied by 365, right? Very easy to calculate. Okay. So this sums up the frequently asked questions related to financial modeling and an investment banking interview. If in case you have any doubts in these questions, feel free to reach us at thewallstreetschool.com or in the comment section below. We'll try to clarify your doubts. Thank you.